Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, wasta'inuhu wastadihi wastaghfiruhu wa umminu bihi jalla wa ala wa la akfuruhu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. As-salahu bil huda wa dinil haq liyadhhiruhu ala din kullihi wallahu karihal mushrikun. I would like to start by a couple of ayats from the Quran. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, by the English meaning, they say, Wakalu, they say, these two are certainly expert magicians. Their object is to drive you out from your land with their magic and to do away with your most cherished institutions. So technically, Pharaoh knows what's going on. He's clear. And just like Musa alayhi salam was clear, we're clear. Because his mission is the same as ours. Although he was divinely inspired. But we have the message that was given to Musa right here. Right? We have the paperwork. They say a paper trail, we got it. This is it. And so the trail is so wide to follow that you can't miss it. But for other people who are not looking for it, it's too narrow for them to see. They can be on it, they can cross it back and forth. It don't have nothing to do with them because they're not looking for it. So they said these two are expert magicians. Their object is to drive you out of their land with their magic and do away with your most cherished institutions. So when the government look at us, they said that nigga there is not no buffoon and not no clown. That ain't what's happening. He's not a big mouth either. He's smart mouth, but he ain't no big mouth. Because he's got something with him, the Quran, and it's telling him to do away with your cherished institutions. That mean even stuff you don't care about. Your Constitution, the Congress, do they care about their Absolutely not. Does the State House care about it? They don't care about it at all. But for the people, those are their cherished institutions. They go back and vote. They know it's a lie. They know that they vote and they don't spend $5. They spend $5 zillion every couple of years, and on every fourth year, they really stretch out on a big lie. And the people can't be that dumb. Okay, you say they are. Okay, there's something to that. But look, the people that's managing this don't care nothing about it. Congress, the Senate, the presidency, old George Bush Jr., he called it a rag. Didn't they say something back years ago and he said, it's just a rag. That's what he said to the people, and they know he said it, and that's what he meant. He was speaking his mind. A damn rag. What are you talking about? It's something written on paper. It might as well be the Bible, as far as he's concerned. Might as well be the Bible. I care as much as I do about the Constitution as I do about the Bible. Does my behavior show that I care about the Bible? And don't talk about the Koran. Well, I tell you. Look at here. So This gives you an idea of what the people, when Shuaib rose up amongst his people. Now you got to remember, Shuaib was an Arab, but then the people, Musa alayhi salam, when he run off, he was hanging out with those people, that type of people. They believed in one God. That's why they said that God up there on the mountain. And when he said, shoot, God can't live in the mountain. But he went up there and said, take your shoes off, you're on sacred ground. And then he gave him the mission. Okay, you go on back and hook the people up. That's what I had them run you off so you could come over here and get the game on going back. And it's a move for liberation. Now, another ayat from the Quran says, or a couple of them, have we not made for him 2 pair of eyes or a pair of eyes? Any tongue and a pair of lips? And shown him the 2 highways? Najdain. But he had not made no haste on the path that is steep. What will explain to thee the path that is steep, the uphill road? Is the freeing of the bondsman, freeing of a slave. Giving food in a day of privation to the orphan who claims a relationship. And this is the key, to the injured down in the dust. Their face down in the dust. They ain't got no hope but you. Okay, that's our mission. This has been our mission. We're not apologetic about it. We're happy. You wouldn't believe how happy we are to be here today compared to what happened to our people in our past. Does anybody remember a guy called Agent 800? Marcus Garvey, that's right. Agent 800. Agent 800. Because part of the talk today is about some of our potential liberators. And today we're just going to mention in passing about a great personality who came along in our time. In fact, he was big. His court date for stuff would have been 100 years ago now, about 100 years ago, 1922. This would have been the height of Marcus Garvey's career, 100 years back. Now, to a lot of people, that's a long time ago. But he set the stage. We would consider him the first one with a comprehensive liberation philosophy. He would be the one with the first that don't mean that Booker T. Washington and then the Talented Tenth and all them people, they had pieces of it, but they had little pieces. He's the first one to come and state clearly to liberate your mind, that you're as good, as big as anyone else. And that's what the Negro Improvement Association was. And so you got to remember, he came out of the Caribbean. And I got the understanding of the Caribbean. One of our greatest brothers, I think he passed away a few months back, Imam Yassin Abu Bakr. And he had flaws, but he was a good man. He came here, and the government down there in Trinidad, is that Trinidad, was on his case. That government. Now, there was another government that came later, and the one before was on his team. So when one government gave him trouble, and assassinated his son, I think. His son used to go over to Howard. And we used to have a lot of programs in 84, 85. And he came over here looking for guns. And he went all over. He was at these look, the conferences that we were at were so well surveilled, and the people guarding the Ayatollahs was dope fiends. Yeah, I mean, that's how they so the brothers thought, no, the brothers in Canada, the African-American brothers, or the Afro-Canadian brothers, it was all like this. Well, I come to find out for certain they was the police, but I knew then they was the police. So not only them, but our history, I'm going to go through some of the COINTEL programs. So the COINTEL program had been out for decade and a half. And so we knew clearly in words, we knew about the counterintelligence program before we knew it existed in words. We knew the pattern. We'd say, man, they'd say to me, the white man got you on the board, the chessboard. In other words, that you're on the board, man. That mean that they move in pieces, and everybody in the community that knows about the game is already ready to wave bye-bye to you. Because you're on the board. That meant that in those days, you're on the board. So that means that you're finished. And 99% of the time, they would be correct. They're not correct in our case right now. We have carried on a heroic struggle. I mean, here in America. It's big time heroic. It ain't no game. And we know what we've been doing here. It's been under strategic management. And look, the outline we've been using, because, see, as we go through this trial and error and learning, we arrived at this Quran. We got here after a long time of looking and searching, and, then after, that's it. Now, what are we going to do? We're here in America. How are we going to get this instituted? That ain't no joke. You go over history, what has happened to everybody else that came along this road. So you study. You become an expert in your region, your area, and the practices. What was the FBI developed for? J. Edgar Hoover's first case was what? Anybody know? J. Edgar Hoover's first case. Y'all mentioned it a minute ago. Yeah. Of course it was. That's what the FBI, what was the police, the uniform police established for? Catching slaves, right? Do you know how much what America has been founded on? Maintaining its certain things. And number one was slavery. Huh? Fugitive slave law. That's what their book said. We had it, their books. Come on, Justice in America, right? I think I showed up a whole page with. That's what it was for. Okay, the COINTEL program, the first case, wasn't the Palmer raids and all of that stuff later or around that time, leftists. It was for black people. It was for Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey got so big, the dumb government was saying, oh, that's a buffoon, that's a clown. And the Negroes said, boss man, that nigga is dangerous. It was our people that sicked the FBI on our, boss man, oh, Lordy, you ought to hear what he said. And it ain't that. And it's not that we're jealous because he has 1 million people or 3 million people with him and we have 16 or 17. And we got more sense than he do. And he's a big old, and you ought to see him. The nigga, he got a big wide nose. You ought to see that nigga. Big wide and lips on him. He can't have no sense. He black as your shoes, doggone near. And I was going to mention before about the brothers in the Caribbean. See, I hadn't thought about it, but Imam Yassin Abu Bakr was talking to a group of immigrants and us. We're all there. And he said, while I was sitting next to him, he put his hand on, he said, now you know, Imam Musa, we got our freedom 50 years ahead of you guys. Talking about African Americans. But you got to remember, those were slave-breaking islands. The slaves that they didn't break stayed down there. And remember, Haiti, that was the first, however you add it up, that was the first black revolution in the world, or slave rebellion. And it was successful, right? It fought 50,000 of Napoleon's best troops. Whipped him so bad he had to sell half of the United States now. Louisiana Purchase. Louisiana Purchase, not just Louisiana, they go all the way up and over to Oregon and all of that up there. Okay, look. What we want to do, this is Black History, and we're going to pass this DVD out because we're going to cover a lot of ground. Because it's not only for us, it's for Africans who are here right now. And you got to pay attention to Africans. We have to educate them on where they are and who they're here with. Because they're secretly or visibly trying to ease the immigrants mostly. Okay. Go down and turn on the TV or turn on the movie. It's Africans on the thing. I think Denzel might be the only Negro left from here. They got colonialism, but they don't look at America. They look at America as we get a break. Half of them might have went to London first, went to England, and then now they're here. You can be watching the movie, and you would never until you look at Mashallah Ali, on and on and on. It's not only Idris Elba and others. I would say 80%. 12 years as a slave. It don't make no difference who you talk about. Most of them are immigrants. And immigrants bring the immigrant story. The immigrant's hopes and aspirations. And the immigrant, if we don't tell, we got a lot of stuff going for ourselves. We'll get back to these ayats in the Quran. We got a lot of stuff going for ourselves. Number one, the immigrant community, the Africans, you notice wherever we go, sometimes the Africans put stuff in our box. Well, when we're going to be out at Africaville, and we're going to make sure they get this. And more, we'll probably do 3 or 4 of this aimed at our African brothers, right? So they can understand the combination that we're dealing with now. Number one, boss man, you can see out in Maryland and other places, Muhammad Ali, all these people, they got these big posters up. You can see them. Okay. All right. Now, they're immigrants. When they look at us, they look at the picture and they know us pretty well. We know them. We know that the crookedest immigrants is, I don't know, I'm not going to say. But so we know each other a little bit. But see, we're forming a combination of peoples right now. We've been hitting at it, but we're forming a coalition for struggle. The immigrants, Africans, got a feeling for what's going on. because they have a certain affinity with us. We have to build on that affinity and clarify. That's what we're doing on this. Clarify what it is. Number one, the immigrant Africans' children are more African American. Have you noticed that? Why? The white man don't, or the system don't ask them, are your parents Ethiopian? Are your parents Nigerian? They black, right? They might have a little hint of, so they're going to have the black experience. Their parents don't have it. They said those niggas, they don't, look how they throw money away. Even you don't see Africans spending money like we do. $1 zillion tennis shoes. A lot of young people are growing up here. Okay. You don't see the parents. I'm talking about the parents, not the children. The children, we got to get with them. The parents ain't spending that. When we go to Juma, you see a few Africans and jumped up and they've rolled back in their bins and all that. And they won't give you nothing because they think, I made it, nigga, you got to make it. And you're lazy. Look at all the wealth here. And you laying in the street. They don't see their children understanding the Americanization of black skin and the Negroization of humanity, because they're treated like blacks and the parents don't care. They're blind to it. They might as well be Chinese or Korean. We don't, where they come from, the streets are paved with gold here. Because in the market back home, you couldn't get nothing. The dictator took all the money, everything like that. So when they come here, they say, man, there's scraps all over the place. And so he go for it. And would you turn the heat down just so the parents, the immigrants that came here, they're different than the children. The children might as well be African American because everybody they're around, they might go to HBCU. If they go to the University of Maryland, it's the same as HBCU. Wherever they go, whatever neighborhood they live in, right, they're going to be treated like black people. They are black people. Nobody's going to ask them, the police ain't going to ask them, are you an immigrant? Nor is the system. When they're walking down the street, the system sees them as black. That's what they are. So that has a lot to do with their socialization. Okay, so we have to reach out to their parents and to them, because when we're talking to their parents are seeing that their children are different than them. Because they came here single-minded focus. You got to eat, got to get money, got to send back home to her family, his family, right? We ain't got time to be oppressed. And they just drive right through it, just like they getting oppressed like everybody else, but they're not paying no attention. Because oppression back home under Boss Man was like 10,000 pounds, and over here it's only 3,000 or 4,000 pounds, which to them say nothing, right? Back there, you can't get ahead. Over here, you can if you put your head down and just keep walking, right? They had the Chinese Exclusion Act. That don't stop the Chinese from being into the zillions over here now. The Koreans, no gun re, they killed Koreans like they was killing flies. That's why I had us look up that no gun re. You know, Koreans don't pay the FBI agent that come here was Korean. And another one in Oakland years ago was Japanese. And I talked about America, and both of them said the same thing. I am an American. Good for you. Good for you, senor. Yeah. Okay, so our mission right now, we got to use everything that's happened. We know what happened to our people. So Marcus Garvey technically had the biggest African American unit mobilized for liberation. And all the other Negroes is the one that put boss man on. This nigga's a big old buffoon just having a good time. And after a while, they got on him. So if he had 6 ships, that his last ships he bought, the Negro that was helping him buy him was making him pay 6 times the value of those old leaky boats. And the captains he had was pure Negroes. Some of them would put down the thing and go see his woman and hang out at her house. No, the captain of a ship, it was a Negro ship. Oh, there's no doubt about it. But you got to remember, this is the first big experiment. You can't expect him to be like, all this stuff happens so we can research. We research. This is Black History Month. So we're doing a reminder of why we do what we do, why we've been acting like this, why can we stand all of this and it just run off our shoulder? Because we've studied everybody. We've studied everybody else and we've studied ourselves. We've studied every group of people that came here. And we have a little understanding of it. Okay, so we saw what Agent 800 did. This is 100 years ago, Marcus Garvey had black dolls. They made black dolls. Why? Because it was 50 years after that that's how slow the NAACP is. Remember the big court case they presented, or they visited with the children and they asked, which doll is beautiful? This is in the 50s and the 60s. This way after Marcus has long been gone. I like that one. Little blonde-haired, blue-eyed doll. Which one is beautiful? That one. Which one is ugly? That one. Now he done already building black dolls. Why? So that the children can play with things that reflect them. You see what I mean? Even today, women will buy little white dolls. Even today, and they know and they may be the blackest one in town and talking all that black talk, and they got a little white doll. Okay. But the point is that Marcus Garvey did a lot for the movement. Everybody came after that, whether it was Elijah Muhammad, everybody was following the outline. If you were to read Message to the Black Man and you would look what the Lamb was saying about black economics, he was saying the same thing Marcus Garvey said. Now, I've had experience with the same thing Marcus Garvey had and others, because when I was doing East Oakland Enterprises, I was young. And like right now, I had read business management and all of that. But at that time, it's like, oh, you want to be rich? Well, here, you go over and do that. Here you go. Here's your grub steak. Everybody know what a grub steak is? Oh, a grub steak. When you would, a miner, when they would go out and maybe it's because it's California, when they would go out and mine for gold and stuff, you would give them a grub stake. That's a pick, a shovel, and the means to go mine. And the grub stake mean that when you strike it rich, you would come back and kind of share a little bit of it with the guy that gave you the grub stake. And so grub stake means an investment in use. Somebody invests with you, and you get. So we would give literally anybody a grub stake. My friends that was boxers, I would say, hey, you should manage your own fights. And then one of my best friends, his trainer, which was a trainer. But I was thinking if I could do this, then they could do that, so, but they were trainers. So they would get the Oakland Auditorium and they wouldn't know how to pipe into all the fight, stuff. And it wouldn't be enough people there. And I would just tell them, well, you just give me the money I invested and back, and and that's all I would want. I wouldn't want, and if they couldn't pay it all back, it wouldn't make no whole lot of difference, as long as they make an attempt. But the people didn't know they were trainers. My friends were boxers, and their trainers were trainers, not managers, not promoters. This wasn't during the Don King era. This preceded him a long time. Okay, the point is, East Oakland Enterprises, some of it went very well, but a lot of you're invested in people who don't have experience with freedom, and they definitely don't have experience with money. They don't have experience with money. They don't have experience with independence. They don't have experience with, I'll invest, and from that investment. So everybody took, they show up with some money, people would take advantage of them. And I was never just openly taken advantage of, but I was in my early 20s. And technically, from what I know now and what I knew then, I just knew the basics. And was inspired with a vision. But all the fundamentals, I write now about management and leadership, but I had to study that stuff for 30 years before I could write about it, to where I really can learn about leadership and management, right? Then you had one thing that I had learned from studying management, that the greatest thing, and one of the greatest things, is to get a group of people to work together for a common cause. And I call it organization. The organization, the movement. So we had good ideas, but we were outrunning in money. We were outrunning the people and the environment. So we were so far ahead that the people, when we stopped, we had 100, and they don't know but 6 or 7, right? So you give him 50 or 60 or 70, and he can only institute 5, 6, or 7. That's all they know. And without a vision and without time to learn, I'm going to jump back again. This exact point is why we make the subject about evolution, difference between evolution and revolution, and longevity. See, right now, technically, I'm an expert on all these subjects. I have to be, because I've been here so long. There's no way, you can't say, well, see, you got lucky. Now, if I was 22 years old and got rich, you could say, that nigga hit, and it might be true. And he can go up one time, but he can't go up again because he don't have the expertise to do it. He just happened to be at the right place at the right time in the right environment and stuck his hand in there and pulled out a sack of gold. But if without training, you can't do that every time. You stick your hand in there, and 80% or 90% of the time, you're going to pull out dust. until you're trained. So you have to realize where we are in movement. That's why we always talked about longevity. Because the first thing we noticed, the Negroes didn't never have a chance to. We were different. We had to study the movement in China. The Communist Party, first they had Dr. Sun Yat-sen, 1911. They had that, but then the Communist Party started in 1921. Remember on TV they just celebrated that? They just said it, Communist night test. That was a 100 years celebration. Okay. They had battles. You remember we talk about the Long March so much? Because you could give many. It was a strategic struggle that they went on, and 7,200 li may be equivalent to 6,000 miles. In other words, they fought a battle all the way over to San Francisco and back. And over the same, they crossed the Rocky Mountains, they crossed the desert, they went the southern route, so they was down there slopping through the mud in Louisiana. You know what I mean? In Texas. And, then they got up this way a little bit. They had to cross the Rockies. They had to, and then the Sierras, another mountain range. You know what I mean? And then they got a small mountain range here on this coast, go a couple 1,000 feet up, because as part of this mountain range over here, the water is in this, it flows toward the Chesapeake. Yeah, they call it water hedge or water something. No, the Continental Divide is way out in Wyoming and all that. There is, there's a regional divide. There's a regional divide that's about 2,900, let's say 2,800 feet. When you're going this way, and I see it all the time in Pennsylvania on Highway 80, when you go over the divide, the water flows down toward the Mississippi and all of that. On this side, the water flows to the Atlantic. When you go on across the Continental Divide, that is the Great Divide, they used to call it in history, and I almost take a picture of it and write it down every time I pass it, because the Continental Divide goes all the way up and down the United States, all the way into Mexico. At I-10 going across the south, the Continental Divide in New Mexico, like right there in Deming, it's maybe 4,500 feet up. It's called High Plains. Did you ever see the movie High Plains Drifter? High Plains Drifter is, what's the name? There's an area in the United States, the Badlands is there. It's the High Plains. It's kind of flat-ish, but it's up high. Now, by the time you go north all the way up to I-80, that is 7,000, one sign says 7,500 feet, and the other one says 6,900 feet. Because when you're traveling, it's a long story. But anyway, so the Continental Divide is what divides the water. On the other side, it all flows toward the Pacific. On this side of the Continental Divide, it flows toward the Gulf of Mexico. So the Mississippi River is inside this area. Here is the regional divide, 2,800 feet. All that water flows down this way. You get the Missouri, you get all those rivers over there. Okay, on this side, all the water is flowing into the Chesapeake Bay, and other places. Now, so that's why the Mississippi River is so big, because it has those a couple of 1,000 miles from here to way over there in Wyoming. That water is flowing back this way, down toward from Dakota and all that, is flowing down the Mississippi River. Yeah. And I gave a lecture in Minnesota at the top of the United States. And a little sign said a Mississippi River. It was a stream almost. It's just a little place. The university, this thing runs right by the university. It's the Mississippi River. It's not that big joint when you get way down there and everything is running into it. You see what I mean? Like the Missouri River. Those are big rivers. And all those big rivers running into the Mississippi River. It makes it big. Anyway, where was we at? Okay, so let's call ourselves right now the Great Mississippi. All of the movements and everything, I just made that up, is flowing into us. No, it is. This is our job. Look, we have a job we're doing. We're not all that jumping up and down and people getting sad and mad. We're not into that. We're just not into that. We're into collecting all this stuff because it seems like we have a destiny and we have a goal. Allah knows exactly our destiny, but we know what our goal is. You know, we already know. It's right here, the same thing Moses' goal was. Them two guys, they're not magicians. Them two guys, they're here to change your cherished institutions. So we're here to change this stuff. And the biggest part of that is who's going to take the uphill road? Look around. Who wants to do it? Hey, anybody want to take the uphill road? They look the other way, right? Everybody in the United States, all the groups, all the movements, they don't want to have nothing to do with it. Is it possible that nobody wants to take the uphill road? Is it possible that there's no Negroes, that all the Negroes will be Al Sharptons, will be Jesse Jacksons, will be the latest one? Right? I mean, is that possible? Yes, it's possible. It's likely. It's a reality. And we know it. It ain't no big deal because that's the way it's been. And just like the people in Shuaib's time, they said, man, if we went with you, man, well, we would go broke. He's talking about weights and measures. If we gave the people if they want to buy a pound of rice and we gave them a pound of rice to the 400 grams of rice, well, we would be broke. You know. Why, if we gave them equal for equal and do that, where would we get our money? We would be broke. In other words, we can't do right because we would go broke. That was people of Shuaib's time. Who else was that? That's the people of all people's time. Now get back to our hero. Our hero, or our forefather in this game. And don't forget now Malcolm X. They play Malcolm X's mother as a high yellow, frizzly lady. Crazy. That ain't the way she was. Her husband was one of Marcus Garvey's people. She was the secretary in the house. She was the secretary. Right? I'm trying to tell you, look, everybody, they lying about all those people. But if the people don't help, they say the woman is crazy. Like, look at the lies they put out on us. Suppose we didn't fight back. They'd say, man, Imam Musa was stealing money, and that's why we did what we did in California. Of course, our papers say that we went out there and paid their debts, let's say $50,000. Another debt we went out there and paid. They didn't pay the little lawn stuff. This is another 29, 28, something like that. Yeah, they wouldn't follow the notes up. Like if they send them a message, I see it after I paid it. You owe $4,000 on the lot. They would have all the brothers out there drove cabs and all that. We had a big lot. The property was 16,000 square feet, and over 8,000 square feet of it was a lot. They let the brothers park the cabs on there, and then they would get old and collapse. We had to come and have all it towed away. We bought the buildings. They were nice buildings. They let them rot for 10 years. Imagine you have a building and you don't upgrade it in 10 years. The roof cracks, water comes in. So I had to go out there and bring them buildings up to power. When I bring them up to power, they hit something inside. I think I showed the drain and where the black stuff, the tar. Did I ever show any of the tar? They would stick a bottle. Yeah, stick it down there. And then, okay, that would ruin the whole roof. No matter how many times, as soon as you get out here, they're going to stick it in there. Mukhtar's going to stick it in there, and that's it. And he ain't going to fix nothing. And everything you fix, they're going to go right behind you and punch a hole in it, you know. So you can fix the whole roof. I mean, thousands and thousands of dollars. And look, 8,000 square feet of roof is big. That's this roof, this place right here, both floors is 7,500 square feet, but that's downstairs and upstairs. So that means the roof is about 36, square feet, 3,600 square feet. Okay, so if this was a one-story building, imagine a building twice its size, going that way, just one floor. That's the way some of our property out there was, because the property is 16,000 square feet, and 8,000 square feet is where the buildings are. Well, imagine we cover twice this area, and it's not just perfectly flat or this, that, and another. That's a lot of roofing. That's a lot of work. Over the years, we got it done. They would walk right up there and poof, punch a hole in it, pull up something, where the water will come in, and pretty soon, all of that was, well, okay, that's not what the subject is today. The subject is the uphill road. What will make you know what the uphill road is? It's the people that are being squashed like bugs. Their face is down in the dust, right? The people that nobody want to be around. They're so-called worthless and useless. And that's our mission. And Marcus Garvey was one who helped show the way. So just like people do whatever they do with our property here, they did worse to him because it was movable parts. Hey, man, the guy that was his purchasing agent would have him pay 6 times the value for them old boats. It's okay.
It's almost as if they use that as a blueprint. They use him as a blueprint for what?
Oh, no doubt about it. I was getting to that. Right.
Read his history. It's almost a blueprint.
Okay. Well, I got it here since y'all made the statement that I'm going to I won't have to touch on every point. That's exactly the COINTEL program started by, the original COINTEL program was started by the same guy. Now imagine a pervert, a cross-dresser, and have lunch with his sissified friend every day, just them. Probably neither one of them are married. I know J. Edgar wasn't married and didn't want to be married. And what kind of hatred he has built up in him about people who show manliness. That Dr. King, he hated Dr. King. He getting all that vagina and liking it, excuse my language, and liking it, and I don't even like it, you know. And they didn't know what to do with Malcolm. They just had to kill him because they was always trying to trap him with this, trap him with that. He wasn't even paying attention, right? He was trying it like they could. It didn't work. Okay. We is what we're talking about now. Dear believers, we got the most wonderful job in the world for our area, for our region. This is our job, and it's wonderful. And it's been wonderful. And we're not new in this. We've been doing this for a long time. And we had to have had some intuition about what we're doing because we're calling the right things and we're making the right moves and basically not scared of anybody. National Parade of Informers, Saboteurs, you got to be brave. When we finish with Boss Man, they'll never make fun of Negroes again. See, they got a habit. You see Negroes on TV and everything, but they either scandal, which I haven't seen, but I know it's a program, something. And then what's this program where they in Hollywood and they making it's Empire, that's it. That's it. I haven't seen it, but I kind of figure out what it is. Anytime a Negro try to even get close to that, they turn it into foolishness. Well, why they didn't let Biggie Small them and Tupac them manage and control, right? Their rap music empire. Which it jumped out and that boy, they said, man, this is, the white man got on his tennis shoes. We got to catch them niggas. They making too much money, right? And then divide, conquer, and rule. Start a war between East Coast rappers and West Coast rappers. It's the COINTEL program. Over and over again. Okay. It's the COINTEL program anywhere and everywhere all the time. It ain't working on us. It's not working at all. It's not working at all because we made a study, a research, just like we're studying now. We had to study. What did we need? We always talk about it. We need time, longevity. We need tenacity. All the words we use, stickability, 95% of ability is stickability, right? Goals, focus, all that stuff. Everything we talk about, that's the essence of what you need. The first discovery we made was our people did not have time like other groups did in China. They started the Communist Party in 1921, but by the 1934, 35, they going through the Long March, and they got a movement where they can survive. It's different mathematics. Some say they started out in the Long March with 1 million men, and there's 20,000 at the end. They have different numbers, but that you can do that. You get time to learn. You have to learn. You lose a lot of people and da-da-da-da-da. So we studied that in our early years. So we came to the conclusion. This is before we understood what Martin Luther King was saying. Longevity has its place. Longevity is a big deal. The Negro never had time and never had a chance. The movement, 5 years, people would stay in the movement 4 or 5 years, and a lot of them, the whole span, if you take the Freedom Rides in 1961 and the collapse of the Black nationalist movement, is just say 1971. They only have 10 years, and all that period you're going through changes, and they already know what to do. What they did to this movement, Pharaoh did to the people. All they had to do, they could take the British system and divide, conquer, and rule, which they did. Right? They could study all of that because that's what governments do. How to stop the people? Then you enter drugs. And it wasn't drugs, heroin just for black people. You can click that heater back on. You can look. Boss man is mean, boy. I would say that old white man. He's so mean, it's unbelievable. Not only everybody now hear about crystal meth and all of that. He gave the white boys acid and crystal meth. That was like back then. Man, it was some Negroes mess with crank a little bit then. But the ones that was putting out crystal meth was, we'll say, motorcycle groups, and white folks loved it. And they go through wave and wave after. Some Negroes get caught up in it, but the biggest group is crystal meth. It's white folks. It wipes them out. It makes heroin look like. See, I mean, man, it's so bad. But that's what white folks gave to white folks. They did studies in the early 60s with LSD, military experiments, right? They knew what it did. They gave it to the white folks. This supposed to be a big deal. Ollie Stanley. I remember Ollie Stanley. Ollie Stanley, one supposed to help invented it in modern times. White boy out there, and you might as well call it Berkeley, around that area. Because acid didn't become, by the time LSD became illegal, they had already hooked everybody on the trip. It became illegal in 1966. Yeah. So all the white folks was already, one group of white folks, I'm telling you, they destroy, these guys, they destroy unnecessarily. Remember I had y'all listen to the song, when you go to San Francisco, be sure to wear some flowers in your hair. All the young white folks wanted was, make love, not war. We don't want to have anything. Forget wars. That's your thing. We don't want to be bothered at all. And they treated them like niggas. They gave us heroin and everything else, and they gave their own children.
They say that was an open opportunity to test. It was like they were guinea pigs.
They were the guinea pigs, and they was a target. Remember, they tested it in 61. They tested it already. When they let it out, they already had their crew that's going to publicize it. Timothy Leary, turn on, tune out, and all that. Why he didn't go crazy? Because he was there to lead them to the slaughter. Huh? Hey man, it was mean, man. It's like, okay, no, it's okay. But we live in a world, the leaders are like Pharaoh and the people are like the people of Musa alayhi salam. That's the way it was like that. It is like that now. That's why we don't have nothing. That's why you would have compassion for white people. Because like the people who was at those programs, they're just misled. nice young Euros. They don't have any. A few of them at the top know what they're doing. They're misleading them, but they don't. They're going to the thing. You know, when we'd be out there, you would see them like they're running to get to the line and stuff. Okay, this is a happening, right? The news make it happening. They're having a such and such and such at the White House. So all the nice little white kids, hey, this is it. Let's go down, right? They're not there for no teaching like we're standing out there trying to give them some teaching. Now, since you're here, here's what you do is a teach-in, and then you study you have meetings. Why are we here? What do we want to do? How are we going to do it, right? Why they don't have none? They had none of that. Nowhere in the United States did they have any of those. Why? Because this is not the 60s and they don't want you to know why you're there. You just come down, have a good time, turn some flips and go back home and shut up. Right? They know what they're doing. So with the white folks during the 60s, they had, of course, they had the media, but they had, see, the innocent white folks didn't realize that their government would feed drugs to them. Most of the talk you hear is about heroin to black people to divert, but you don't hear too much about the white man giving drugs to the. When white people got aware that this is not smelling too well, it was right there in Ohio when you saw the girl leaning down over her little friend that's been shot by the military. And everybody was looking at, well, why? What the heck? You know, they're trying to process why. What's, you know, why is this? They're not processing it, but they're trying to. Why? We can actually understand that you don't like black people and you don't want them to be free. They can process that because after Kent State, they told us in words, you guys got a big job. Not us anymore. Yeah. The only reason they might want to see us about Vietnam and other stuff, because, see, they were getting killed in Vietnam, right? That's why they was out there. That war is what mobilized them. If they wouldn't have had the war in Vietnam, they'd still be up in the hills, you know, sucking on the weed pipe or something. But the point is, every classical mistake that a big system would use, the United States government did to its own people. The only people that would stick with this country when it needed it and with nothing in return was black people. They did it in World War I. We'd be watching all the Tuskegee Airmen. What do every one of them say now? They're 500 years old. Well, it was a double V. Did they ever get a double V? Absolutely not. Double victory? Yeah, you got one victory over the Nazis. But what about these Nazis here? Can you imagine how sad they was when they would be going down south? You ever see any of these movies where they going down south and they on the train and they tell them, okay, y'all get off the train. And then they can't go in nowhere and eat, and the German POWs, the Nazis, Sieg Heil, they're in there eating. Can you imagine how, not misled, but how country loving those people was? Nobody loved this country like they can. You can't find Italians, white folks, none of them love America like the Negroes. Because none of them would take that. You're going to bring the Germans over here that we're fighting, and they can go in, you treat them like better than you treat us, and you're fighting them. They're trying to kill you. Right? It's insane. Okay? It is insanity. The insanity continues, dear friends. So let's try to speed up and get through this today. So the Marcus Garvey movement and the Marcus Garvey experience, the what's our brother, the singer, Showboat, 1935. Old Man River, yeah. Paul Robeson, Malcolm, all our people. And we call them our people. We seem to be, I believe that the things that were missed on purpose. Things that were incorporated on purpose. I believe that we're here on purpose at this time. Yes, I'm telling you. It ain't no better job. There is no better job in the world. There are good jobs in the world. Iran is doing a good job in that part of the world. Yemen is doing a good part in that part of the world. But in the United States, we have the opportunity, guess what, and the responsibility. That's why these CDs, DVDs, we're going to give out in bulk so that the African that are adult and working and that have children will realize that a combination, you may have thought, oh, I just came over here from Africa, I didn't have that. No. We're here for a reason. We're here, you're here for a reason. This revival of the American, whatever it is, it's always been about black people. It's just from day one. It's about, of course, they stole Mexico and all that. But really, it's been about black people. And so now we're talking about the unity. Okay, so right now, we're standing in front of the system. You can see that. So all around this area, we're talking about from Baltimore, Richmond, D.C., we want y'all, especially before we get to Eid, we want you to donate the majority of your Eid to us. If you come to Eid and we're not there, have somebody and y'all collect your Eid money and deliver it to us. However you deliver it, surreptitiously, looking out of the corner of your eye. When I come over here, you jump out of a bush and hand us a bag of the money and have me give a receipt, and then you go on about your business. It doesn't make any difference. But see, y'all know what you come in contact with. Everybody say the transformation in America is aimed at people believe, all the people believe it's the African American, right? The immigrants, everybody. Okay. The African American Negro Muslim have been squashed like a bug. Think about when you see us around and you see the African American Muslims. They look at us like we got tails. Y'all come to us and donate. That's the thing. All of America on our team, we have survived, and we're going to work a serious combination on old boss man. It's going to be us out leading the show, taking all the bats and swings, and then you backing us up. Do you know everywhere, like yesterday, day before yesterday, there's a lot of Africans go out there where you went the other day, right? Okay. But have you noticed the shenanigans around us getting out there, being there on time, and the shenanigans of, if you're going to make something for us, why would you, as your chief, stand in front of the door to get right? It's shenanigans. It's shenanigans, and everybody. It's okay. That's okay. Why? Look, we have a vision of where we're heading. We should do the best we can. The Quran and Hadith tell us that, don't panic about this. It's your job to preach the word openly and clearly, right? This was for the prophets. Now, if Allah said that to the prophets, that we as Negroes definitely get a pass. You don't have to make nobody do nothing. All you have to do is devise the best methods you can, right? And that's what we do. What are the best methods? The best methods for us is longevity and survival. It's the best method. Because as the longer you're here, the longer you repeat these certain things, and you don't even have to look anymore. You just know that in human terms, this is probably all right. So, this great combination, we look at it coming up. You have to remember now, there are huge numbers of African immigrants around America. The African immigrant gets certain treatments in, some centers you see Africans have collected their own, got their own little center and what have you, a few. But most of them are integrated into the large numbers, right? Have you ever noticed, dear Africans, that they want your money and they might have a job out in the parking lot to come tell us to go away, right? Yeah, but if you look at the management, they have Negro stooges and they have Arab, some places even in those Pakistani semi-professionals running everything. And you can come and help them. We're telling you that you have a big job here. We're accepting our job. We like our job. We don't have to fight. If you want to run XYZ company, you got to tussle with people to get up there. If you want to run Chevrolet or GM, if you want to run a Masjid, you got to have a vote. You got to get it. We don't have to do nothing here. We get this free. It's just nobody wants it. Everybody know what it is. They don't want it. We like it. You got to understand, everything we're doing, we've trained ourselves. You train yourself to like it. There's nothing anybody can do is a big surprise. And the longer we're here, the happier we get because we have talked about the essence of all this stuff over and over again. If they do a maximum door close on this, still some of the CDs and DVDs would escape. We've got so many, like if you look at Malcolm, they only got Battle of the Bullet, they got a few lectures. There are people in homes all over, they got stacks of these, right? All anybody got to do, and we leave them certain places where if anything come up, make sure you get these out. So we put a little security on ourselves. In the case of money, We are not flat broke. The lowest we'd ever been before in Jahiliyyah was down to 2 steps of money. Now we're down to 1 step, and we're not spending a dime of that. Not one single dime. Not a dime. Let me repeat it again. So you know, this is our rule, that we have some money right now. But what we say we have is barely enough to pay the monthly bills here. So that's where we know it's time to get busy. We have our own scales of what we do and and we're going to make a comeback. We really are. If y'all needed to be energized, all I can tell you is this is a great period. You know, we don't need to have it in our hand. We've done it so many times that we know we just believe that's what's going to happen. Yeah, the money we got, we're not going to spend it. There's a little bit to pay a few of these bills, and we're not going below that. And somebody would have to sneak around to find it or push a button and it fall out of the sky or something, because we're not going to spend what we have. That's just an old rule. There's old money and there's new money. And we never got, in our seriousest time of Jahiliyyah, we got down to number 3 money. 3 levels of money. So under that, when we went to South America, we had 2 levels of money under that from Jahiliyyah. And when you cut it off, that means you have to start where you are. You have to, it's a wonderful thing. Okay, so I'm talking to y'all. So you understand what you're doing. And I'm speaking specifically to the African American and to the African in America. At this point, we're welcoming you aboard. You're going to get a chance you missed all that slavery. Boy, you really missed it, I'm telling you. I'm not saying you would have enjoyed it, but you missed it. But you guys that have come here are active, doing all right. Your children are African Americans, not Nigerians, not Ivory Coast. They're African Americans. They are Africans born and raised in America. They are associated with, you have some influence over their thinking, but you come here and you close your eyes to everything but money and success. And you're doing a good job. You automatically open a tire place down there. Next place is a Nigerian, another place, got tires. And they throw the tires away at the other big places, and y'all collect them tires and sell them to us for $40 a piece, right? Yeah. And the place is throwing the tires away. Take $1 if you buy them off. If you buy them out there at any place, they take $1 off to get rid of the tire. I mean, they put $1 on for me, right? Out at the big places. Where is it I shop out there? You know where this place is. Anyway, so I should just go over a little bit of this so we'll get a feel for it, and then we'll move toward a close. CP USA Counterintelligence Program, Internal Security, August 28, 1956. I'll just go over this, and it says, they will seize every opportunity to carry out the disruptive activity, not only at meetings and conventions, etc., but also at social and other contacts with the CP and its leaders. This is from the COINTEL program, August 28, 1956. Now, And it said that this is an action that was formed to do away with the Communist Party. And this was talking about all infiltration before that was been from the outside in. And at this one, they're saying now there's a situation where we can be inside the Communist Party and bring it down. Generally, the above action has constituted harassment rather than disruption, since for the most part, the Bureau has set up particular incidents and the attack has been from the outside. At the present time, however, there is existing within the Communist Party a situation resulting from the developments of the 10th Congress, CP, Soviet, the government attacks of the party principally through persuasion under the Smith Act or prosecution that now will be made to order for all-out disruptive attack against the Communist Party. Now, groups seeking independence for Puerto Rico, counterintelligence program, subversive control. I'll be brief on this one. November 15th, 1960. Disruption and discord. That's the COINTEL program. Disruption and discord. Number 2, creating doubts as to the wisdom of remaining in the independence movement. 3, causing defections from the independence movement. They did this stuff to us in California. We sent tons of money out there. When the government seized the accounts, it wasn't their accounts. They didn't have none. They seized our accounts here, right? And they just threw the money up in the air. Well, they didn't let them have the money. Like when they sold our property, they didn't let those idiots have the money because the property, one of the pieces of property we sold, I know they got $1 million from it or something at least. If them Negroes, if Khadijah and Mukhtar had $1 million in their hand, you wouldn't be able to find them. They'd be back, I think, one of them from Arkansas. They'd be down there in the Okefenokee, Ridgeback, what do they call them, Ridgeback, something like that. They'd be down the Razorbacks, yeah. They'd be down there with them white folks with a corncob pipe and a fishing pole, fishing with pockets full of money, right? The government ain't gave them Negroes that money. Government ain't gave them none of the money. The $100,000 they took out of the account, or they didn't take it out of the account. They let them have the account. This is not legal. You can't do that. They're not on the account and they let them. That's why we're not in a rush to fight our cases. We're going to fight our cases and win them. And it don't make no difference. Hell, we're right about it. We can't lose this stuff. And eventually the stuff will get in the air. We can't lose it. There's no loss in this. The way we feel right this minute, absolutely no loss. So, disruption and discord, creating doubts. I don't know if you stole money from, I thought here in 2007, it says that we're going to go out there and pay off their taxes, not our taxes here. And their taxes was almost $50,000. That means they hadn't paid tax. They never paid the taxes out there. Since Abdul Malik them was there, they paid taxes on the school. But on the Masjid and other properties, they didn't pay the taxes. If I hadn't stumbled into the paperwork and said, oh, they want to sell all the property out here, or notice. And the same thing, With fines, I would tell them, okay, this is a fine. It's $4,900 for the grass and everything. I said, just clean it up and go down there. They don't do it, so they double it up, right? Then they double it up again. Pretty soon, when you go out there, they send you, you got to pay this $29,000 or you. Now, see, $29,000 for a person that has a big job downtown, if he makes 120,000, 29,000 is not a whole lot. I mean, we'll pay it off in 5 years. And they said, okay, right? They give you a little slip and you go down and pay it. Okay, but if you're us, we don't have an income. We don't have an income, and we're not on purpose using our property for income. That makes you work harder. If you're going to keep it, it's a rule. If you're going to keep it, or you're going to start Imam Tufail, what do we call it? That's Strategic Command Center. You're going to pay for it because ain't nobody we know going to come by there and help you with it. That puts us back to work. That's all. We've already done this 10,000 times. Okay. Disruption and discord, creating doubts as to the wisdom of remaining in the independence movement. Creating doubts. They tried to pretend to create doubts in Oakland. They can't create no doubts in Oakland. They can pretend to create doubts amongst themselves and the people in the group. And then they could present me, well, your family, Sister Bahia is going to say, I said, I don't care what Sister Bahia say. Sister Bahia is with them. Everybody knows it. Anybody I talk to say, yeah, this is a nice lady, but she was with them. She was with so-and-so. Her other husband in between was was watching because he was with ARP, All African Revolutionary People's Party, whatever it is, Stokely Carmichael. Yeah, that was Kwame. I said, and I talked to him about, well, what was the girls' jobs and all that. Their job was to service the men. That's what they said. Them, right down the street, just throw around. They're saying to me, and I'm not jumping up and down about it, like I don't know what it means, but it means you were all police. And the Negroes fell into that. Example, Stokely, I used to go see him a lot. He had a rule not to get involved with the people, but stay on campus. Anybody remember that? They got people on campus older than me right now. I'm telling you. But his job was to lead an intellectual, there's a great party coming, and we're going to lead, we're going to be the elite and lead to freedom because we know where to go. It didn't work. Okay. But the other thing, if somebody, I know some guys that when they come to speak, they had two demands. Some marijuana and cutie pie. Right? That's just, if you're going to hook up a program for me, that is, him, whoever that him is, that's the criteria, and everybody knows that. You have to have some smoke. I used to talk to his other friend. He have another friend just like him, H-Rap somebody. And they knew each other very well, and they would talk. And then after you, during the period of when we're trying to recollect the movement together during the 80s, it was only a few people still around, and you got to know them all. And you knew their habits, and my youngest son, he got so good, he used to imitate certain people. They'd have a pipe, I don't know. Well, we must be organized. Organization. Why, the people must be organized. Martin Luther King was good at to mobilize the people, but not organize people. You must be organized. The people must be organized. Da, 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 da. Anyway, it was nice. Let me speed up here. Creating doubts is the wisdom of remaining in the independence movement, causing defections from the independence movement. And then the exploitation of factionalism of groups. They working with this to cause trouble within the groups themselves. And I was careful about people being able to start trouble in the institution, in our institution. They never was able to come and just somebody would stand up and say, you did certain things wrong. That wasn't right. Why? Because I live right back there. And if it wouldn't be far away, and I couldn't be using up too much money because I was collecting 85% of the money myself. And I was spending 100% of the money on everybody else. And the style, I'm not saying the people liked it. My family didn't like it. They didn't like living back there. They hated it. Well, somebody hated it, but the kids didn't care. Sakina was young, Fatima wasn't even born. But even living next door, 4481, we lived downstairs. The other people that were doing wrong lived upstairs. And just for natural, they didn't like it. They hated it. Okay, well, they had a thing. They said, if we get Imam Musa married, the marriage will slow him down. It didn't slow me down at all. They say, because some of the guys from here, you say, I bet you're not still running. I said, no, what? No, not running all the time, lift a little iron. We had the iron. Well, the iron used to be outside. And we'd be running, had the bag hanging outside. In the cold weather, we just wrap something around it and get busy. But anyway, we won't be able to go into all of this, but we'll touch on a few of it. Question of the wisdom of the Puerto Rican movement is itself. Questioning the indiscriminate use of organization money. I'm not a saint, but nobody can, we do have a record. And we spend money on everybody else, never on ourselves. So the kids, if you were to study the school, what Negro organization would spend $500,000 on the kids? And the same kind of food we have down there for, we had that for the school kids, and the school kids, they wanted to have peanut butter and jelly, all that stuff. A kid's lunch, Lunchables. But you should have saw the teachers down there. They would be waiting till everybody go by. And they would, because we'd have fish, that boy, it would be well cooked, as good as the stuff now or even better. So the teachers knew what they was having and they stayed in line. Yeah, to eat. Okay. So they can't tell us all this stuff about, they can say it, but it don't mean nothing. The people can say, and I get tired of tricking them into saying stupid stuff, but it's easy. The people that are managed over on our thing, they're live card carrying dummies, all of them. Because after you see so much in unity, there's strength. A truism that is no less valid for all of its triteness. An effective coalition of black nationalist groups might be the first steps toward a real Mau Mau in America, the beginning of a true black revolution. The Kenyans, just before that, they had the Mau Mau movement. They saw how effective it was. They had to bring a coon back out of prison and put him over the burning spear, whoever that was. You found out who that was. And When I got to Kenya, if you wanted to find the Mau Mau, they were robbers out on the road. They were robbers because the government turned against them and they had a skill. In South Africa in the late 90s, if you wanted to find where the brothers was, they were throwing big chunks of cement out on the highway. The Asians had to stop and they would roll out with AK-47s. And they were robbing the very people that helped them. But the leaders have gone south or north, you know, prevent the coalition of militant black. Okay. Prevent the rise of a Messiah who could unify and electrify the militant black nationalist movement. Malcolm X might have been such a Messiah. He is a martyr to the movement today. Martin Luther King, Stokely Carmichael, and Elijah Muhammad all aspire to this position. Elijah Muhammad is less a threat because of his age. King could be a very real contender for this position should he abandon his supposed obedience to white liberal doctrines. Nonviolence. The minute he started talking crazy, what happened to him? Poof, gone. Why oppose a war in Vietnam? Right? Dead man. Carmichael has the necessary charisma to be a real threat in this way. Prevent violence. Number 4, prevent black nationalist groups and leaders from gaining respectability. Do you notice ever how bad people talk about myself as a person in this region? I would have to be pretty tricky to have done any of that. But it's on everybody's lips. So if anybody hear about Imam Musa, unless they know him personally, they're going to hear some mythological story. He's not on the hawk, all that. By the people that's on the hawk, whatever hawk they on, I don't want to be on that. Prevent backlashes from gaining respectability. Number 5, final goal should be to prevent long-range growth of the militant black nationalist organizations, especially among youth. Specific tactics to prevent these groups from converting young people must be developed. In this case, you would have to, and during the timing, example. When I was in Oakland, up until 1968, you couldn't deal heroin in Oakland. You'd have to go, everybody. You look at Fillmore Slim, they always talk about the Manor Plaza Hotel over in San Francisco. The dope fiends, if you stayed on the Bay Bridge, you see them going over the Bay Bridge twice a day, in the morning and in the evening, to get their heroin. Because the narcotics squad in Oakland didn't allow you to sell drugs. So if you sold heroin, now you sell all the marijuana you wanted, you could even sell crank, but not heroin. They had a thing about it. 1968 and after, Oakland was the center of the heroin trade. Yeah, right there in Oakland. So we have firsthand feeling about all of this. Okay. So when they say a final goal should be to prevent young people, what happened by 68? All the people, by the time Superfly came around 3 years ago, all the black people was shooting heroin, right? And everybody was diamond in the back, sunroof top, digging the scene with a gangster lean. And how would you get that? Why, selling dope. It's just simple. So the white man, let's call him that for us, The white man knocked his own children over with LSD and crystal meth. Crystal meth it would go down as one of the worst drugs in history. I mean, crystal meth, if you weigh 300 pounds, that's only temporary. Within a couple of weeks, you're down to 2. And after that, you're on a slide going down. We didn't see it. I mean, hey, crystal meth is serious. And trifling, teeth grinding, white in the mouth looking, that stuff, those drugs make you semi-human, or you could say non-human. Non-human, because the things that human beings do, like you're doing, taking care of their children, you don't do that. You don't even think about that.
And then they glorify it to the point where it's definitely to encourage other white people that this is how you get rich. But the biggest show was this show called Breaking Bad.
Right.
And that's what it was about, a science teacher.
Okay, I heard about that. A science teacher that
Right.
they do?
And then there's another one supposedly now called Ozark. Yeah. That's like the top, it's like you gotta watch it. I haven't seen it yet.
It's about white folks using crank?
Yeah, it's
Selling.
about them making it and selling it.
Okay, but you know, that's what they sell. I mean, if you saw the real films about white people in that part at Ozarks and Missouri and all that, man, it's a,
It's being glorified now. That's the show to watch. And it's everybody saying, man, I can't, like you talk about binge watching. They say, I can't get enough of it. But that's amongst you, what they're putting out.
that is really, really, uh, that's really sad. They doing them worse than they did us with Superfly, the original Superfly, and them black exploitation films. They didn't show no movement that was dealing with organization, uplifting the community. All of it was crime.
That's exactly. Well, we have a test case. Now they perfected it.
That's what I mean. We were always at, hey man, but you got to look at it. You got to look at this. What kind of people would knowingly do that to their own people or to humanity? Who would do something that they know? Okay. So we got a good job. We just have to point all of that out. And now we got tons of help. This is COINTEL program, the new left. This is white boys. Preparation of a leaflet sign designed to counteract the impression that Students for Democratic Society, SDS, and other minority groups speak for the majority of students at universities. The leaflet should contain photographs of New Left leadership at the respective university. Naturally, the most obnoxious pictures should be used. This is the devil. You know, like if you want to see how the devil works, you want to be tuned in, you tune in on Boss Man. Instigating of or taking advantage of personal conflicts or animosities existing between the new left. It's hard enough for people to get along. Not only the new left, black nationalists, they did the same to both of them. They designed letters and leaflets. They might have a leaflet say, you have either one of Huey Newton or of Ron Karenga, and he got a to-do list. I don't know if you've seen that one. Kill the Panthers, do this, that, and another. And the Panthers get it, and they go have a shootout. Shoot, at UCLA, they killed 4 Panthers. One of them was a very good friend of mine, Bunchy Carter. They killed them on the campus in 1969. They went up there to give us at UCLA, and they blasted them. That's how effective those notes were. Because, see, it sounds simple, but nobody's used to that. And then you get you look like a secret. Is Imam Jamil talking about Stokely Carmichael, and Stokely Carmichael get one about Imam Jamil. They was great friends. And at least there's suspicion now. And then they would sign some of them. This is from Soul Sister. Huh? Wasn't it Soul Sister? Soul Sister. Soul Brother, Soul Sister. Nobody say that. The white man says it. But anyway, catch him smoking weed, whatever's obnoxious and messing around. Now I'm going to just zip to a few, because the STS is Students from a Democratic Society. They put out so much misinformation that SDS, who was white boys, they had some of our brothers, like in Chicago. What was our brother in Chicago? Fred Hampton was not happy with them because what the government was feeding him about the SDS. So he would make some speeches. No, we're not down with that. Da, 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 da. That's because they didn't want him to get any more white friends. Because he had already hooked up with the poor whites from Dixie. See, the poor whites from Dixie was up there with the poor Negroes. And it's simple to say, hey, do you guys get jobs quicker than we do, or do we get And they peckerwoods, and they say, hell, y'all doing better than we are up here. Let's say, why don't we work together? Those coalitions.
Police was treating them the same way. Poor whites, they was taking care of them too.
Sometimes the police treat poor whites worse than, I don't want to say it, because I don't want to give up our position of oppression and number one on the bad list. But there's some things that you can notice, like a white person, and most of the police killed or shot are by white people. If they stop one of them white boys that's packing and going, just one of them groups, hey man, they'll roll out and they get a chance to because, oh, he's white. And they blast him. I mean, they be blast him. And they go to the range a lot and know how to shoot, just like their cousin and Polish partner. Harassment through the legal system. We won't go into that. We get that all the time. Psychological warfare from the outside. Psychological warfare, we'll talk about all of that later. Infiltration agent informers did not merely spy on political activists. Their main purpose was to discredit and disrupt. Their very presence served to undermine trust and scare the potential supporters. The FBI and police exploited this fear to smear genuine activists as agents. Now, you got to notice, we don't ride a broom on nobody. We tell tattletales you should get a snitches union and all of that. No, really, I mean, and it's true. The white man can't come over here. You'll notice this a white man that don't make you suspicious. Right? It don't make you suspicious because everybody loves Islam. But the thing about it is, what do they pay our people? They should pay the tattletales and they should all have at least $1 million salary for the job they have. Look at the people that diverted Marcus Garvey stuff. I bet you they got a package of chewing gum and stuff like that. Right? So people unionized a union of snitches. Oh, I said that 15 years ago. Do you remember? I said that 15 years. I said, we got to, hey, man, don't take that little old $2 they give you, a little old trip to Hollywood, stuff like dumb stuff. It's dumb. Unionize. He can't use anybody. Only thing he can do is get another group of people like you, which would be suspicious. Hey, and then now what we doing, we working on, we want to keep our tattletales. We don't want no extra. We'll keep the ones we have and just keep working on them. I believe in I actually like Negroes. I think I've said, I always have. And that's what made me different. And the time I got hooked up with all these gangsters and rich Negroes and pretty people, and they talked about black people so bad for about a month or two. I was with them. Yeah, them niggas is poor. They broke. The nigga need to be broke. Boy, look at here. And I said, wait a minute, hold it. This is not why I got started. But that was a style. I was one individual. I said, I like niggas. I've always liked. That's why the white man always put me in the hole, everything. And he never put no other niggas in the hole. He put me in the hole, because I would be the leader of the riot or whatever it was. So I like Negroes. I like Negroes for how they felt. If a guy wanted to be real cool and I treated him the way he presented himself, not who he was. You want to be cool breeze, you want to be, I'm going to treat you. And I treated people like the way they wanted to be seen. And it helped a lot of them. It wouldn't stop no nigga said, nigga, you ain't cool. You ain't, look at them. Da-da-da-da-da-da. No, I would just say, hey, man, that's a good job. You sharp, nigga, I tell you. Okay. So whether it's vandalism, whether it's vandalism, all the cars we got, good God Almighty, not one of the cars, it's okay. It's okay. Even the poor truck sitting there for a while, I guess I'll put something to get it running. But there ain't nothing wrong with it. It runs it wasn't nothing wrong with it, except the water would come out. Couldn't find out why it was coming out. But it ain't no problem. Just take a mirror and look and you'll see. But it doesn't make a difference. Here's why. We're very close to now catching the bus and walking and catching the train. If we want to pass out these flyers, we'll just once a day go over to a place. Or they got all the places in Virginia. We could catch the subway or whatever they call it. We could go out to Virginia. Then you catch a bus. It'll take you right down to the Al-Hijra. We could stay there for 2 prayers. No sense going all that distance for. There's nothing they could do this go around. It doesn't make any difference. They could fix the car, let it run, or don't run. It don't make me no difference. That's the difference between. See, we've done these things before. There's a redundancy, exterior redundancy, but there's an interior redundancy. This is the manyth time that we made this go round. Okay, role of leadership. Grasping the situation as it really is, perceiving the situation without any prejudice. Number 2, rejecting the non-essential junk, holding in focus only the essential and what connects them. Number 3, seeing with a mental eye, perceptual objectivity, the skill of seeing what is there, not what you want to see, what's really there. Most people the immigrants see what they want to see in America. The children don't see that. The children go to school and everything, right? Okay. They're going to have a different picture. Their parents remember back home. You got it too good over here. You got food, you got this, you got that. But their children say, we're Americans. We got a right. Right? Isn't that? I don't care whether they Pakistani parents, black parents, especially if they black. And now even the prime, the wonderful immigrants, the Asians, they killing them off. Now, that's a dumb thing for white folks to do, is kill off Asians when they got a bigger flag on their heart than anybody. But see, at the end of that cycle, and that's the last thing we want to, there's a cycle. When you read about all the people of Nineveh and the people during the time of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and you read about the Roman Empire, the Persian Empire, those, and the people in Scripture, when those things were predicted to happen to them and about them and because of them, because they were nearing the end of their cycle. The end of our cycle is right here. You could see the end of Boss Man's cycle is close. It's not, you would have to be insane not to know that this is it. Okay. So we're at the end of the cycle. That's why our forecasts are 100% accurate. Because this is the 900,000th cycle in history, and we have 5 of them written down already. 5 cycles. So we figured the other 900,000 was that before a written history. So this is correct. They said that nigga know what he talking. This nigga don't have to know nothing. All he got to do is read the Quran and Hadith and do the parrot stuff. Parrot. Boss man gonna fall in 3 weeks. Boss man gonna fall in 3 weeks. Boss man gonna fall in 3 weeks, right? And what does boss man do? Maybe it's 2 weeks. Maybe it's 6 weeks. But here he come. Watch out. What's that coming in? That's boss man. This boss man coming in, crash dive. How you know that? Because the hell is already laid out. Boss man can not do it. He has to do it. Why? Because he's programmed. If he follow Allah, Quran, Hadith, he's going to do certain things. If he follows Shaitan, he's going to do certain things. That's what he do. He's going to crash and burn because the light might burn, make more noise. The explosion may make more noise and be lighter. The fire might be lighter in this period than in the ancient times, but he's got to go. You have to admit that our suggestions or predictions are 96, 97%. I would say 100, but that would be a lot. They're accurate all the time. So it ain't because we're that smart. I mean, it helps a little bit to have some sense. But really, tell the truth. It's already written here. Pharaoh was saying, man, them guys are not magicians. Them guys come to change your whole structure, your cherished institutions. Pharaoh know they don't want to just change you laughing and talking and running in circles. They want to affect your institutions, man. Everything you do, what you worship, that's what they want to change. Anyway, أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. Are there any questions or comments?
There was one comment. I guess. I'll say what the person said. He said, he said, you can be president or any other political position in the USA. You can own the wealthiest company in the USA as a black person. Basically saying that, I don't know, it's that immigrant perspective, I think, about it. Like people aren't really oppressed. Maybe
What, we're not oppressed?
We've had a black president.
And that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Right. You can be a president, you can own the wealthiest company.
Yeah, and you can. And who kills the most Negroes just in the last few years? Does anybody know who was responsible for the most Negroes getting the deep tank recently? Obama, right? This is what the white folks say. We didn't say this. Boy, blacks really had it hard on them. So if you're a red-headed shaitan or a black-headed shaitan, it don't make no difference. You're working for a part of the satanic. So it's not color anymore. When we talk to Africans, we're saying, look, dear Africans, and we're talking to the ones that's Muslims. We're not talking to the ones during Malcolm's time. I'll give you an example. During Malcolm's time, a few Africans was over here, but that was before 69, before the African agents, whatever kind of thing it was, they started letting them come in a lot. But the early Africans that we came in contact with, except for one or two, were products of the colonial educational system, the missionary system. Like in the Congo, the people didn't have, it was just a handful of people that had so-called PhDs, but they got them from Belgium, the Belgium Congo. Do you know that's the only thing, the Belgium Congo, Union Manier was the only company that was owned personally. The Belgium Congo it was called the Belgium Congo, but it was King Leopold that owned the Belgium Congo personally, all that property. Technically. Look. So, in the early years, in the 60s, the Africans that could come over here, except a few, and the Africans that were in the UN, the Africans that were in the UN were revolutionaries, kind of, because all the countries was recently being freed from colonialism. So they at least had to talk that talk. Some of the best lectures I ever heard was Kwame Nkrumah. In fact, you could dial them up. Kwame Nkrumah in front of the UN, maybe 1960, something like that. They were really down. But to jump back to something, it was our home leader here that affected Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and them. So you can't say we haven't been in there. But the point is this. The early African were the product of colonial education. Colonial education was whoever colonized you educated you, because they destroyed all the common education that we had. They destroyed that. And the only people that educated people were missionaries, right? And the missionary schools. The early Africans that came over here, from that, they didn't want to have a whole lot to do with us. Yeah, the ones that are coming here, that are here now, they naturally give to us because they're getting something in their masjid, they're getting something, you know what I mean, that they know this don't smell too good. You know what I mean? They already know we're talking the same language. That's why we're going to produce the leadership. They're going to produce a support network. Y'all hear me, Africans, now. We need support. We need big support. So y'all just slow down. I saw a few of y'all buying a couple. I saw a big old Benz over there the other day rolling in, and the African looked like a Negro the way he was sitting over and looking at us. We stand out there. It was freezing cold with boxes, and he gave us a nigger look, that poor guy. He said, or an Arab look or something. I said, my goodness. And so I know y'all is all right. But look, here's the situation again. We're going to use this question for a point. We're going to go out in front and take the chance for now. Y'all can come later and get on board after you see we going forward. Like when we go before this system and we tell them they're a bunch of sissies and girls and all that, and we slaps them upside the head. Well, we do that. After a few years, you're going to look around and say, they still here. Ain't nothing happened to them. So then you're going to weasel out a little bit, make a few little talks here and run around the circle and find out you're not dead. And that's the way it's going to start. We're going to do this job. You support us. Then after y'all come up, all the other Muslims will see. That's what's happening in America right now. The Muslims are going to lead this America out of it. The Christians can't do it because they out to lunch. They nice people, but they out to lunch. The ministers can't do it because they too busy chasing girls. They just have to be clear about it. They got too many girlfriends. If you think I'm lying, today is too late for the church, but you go next Sunday and go look at the front row. Who's in the front row? It's girls, and they got their legs crossed. And what's the preacher looking at it? Why is he sweating? He's looking. Tell the truth. If I'm lying, I'm flying. If I'm lying, I'm flying, and I can't get off the ground. I can make my hands go. Okay, that's a culture. It's a way of life. You can't produce anything out of that rebellious or anything. So we have to get up. We have to fumble around. And we going directly at Boss Man. We going directly at Boss Man, and we going directly at the Zionists. Ain't nobody, we're not playing with them, and they not playing with us. We got them as at a bigger disadvantage as they might think we are. Technically, we whips them way more than they got stuff they can use. It don't work. When it do work, we're already used to it. It ain't bothering nobody. And everything we do makes them psychic and mad. And that nigger is talking that. And the Zionists, now we've been on the Zionists about 15 years, 20 years more. Boy, they so mad. And they're not nice and mad. They're mad. They're like old Southern crackers and worse. They're the meanest human beings. And that's why it's easy to make them mad. Yeah, we just make the Zionists, because they're so mean. And we don't want you talking about us. Well, that's too bad. We're going to get a big microphone and we're going to go down to the Zionist institutions and we're going to have a party. Sure we are. Yeah, because we got to wake our people up. I didn't mean to stray, but I'm telling you, the African and the African American, this is our time. At this period, you support us. We'll go out and deal with Boss Man. In a few more years, you guys are going to have to come out of the closet. Y'all done heard about coming out of the closet, right? Like, so when you go to MCC or wherever you go and you got them tons of money that you gave them, well, you give it to us. Give us 3 years, that's all. All over. We're going to pass these all over. So wherever you are, Africans, I'm not saying don't put your money in those boxes. I do say that they're not going to use that money the way we are. We're going to use it for right. And if you want to hear about Honest Abe, that's the brother. You can't find a Negro that'll have his family sleeping on the floor and in the cabinet and everywhere. Tell the truth. They don't do that. The family wouldn't allow it. They'd be hollering you couldn't walk in the house. They'd be hollering all down the street. He's abusive, he's abusing us. Look at how we living, right? That's what they would do. Okay. So we've done our part. We're doing our part. Hey, man. And if you want to have fun, Just stick with the Negro. He'll teach you how to have fun. In the midst of everybody else being miserable, the Negro is a professional, let's don't call it fundraiser like money. Let's call it fundraiser. The Negro raises funds, F-U-N-D-S, and funds, like F-U-N-S, funds. The nigga be having funds. All right. So thank y'all very much. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, there was someone named Pierce Jones. He said his name was Pierce Jones, and he said he knew you from the mid-'60s. He goes that far back with you. That was his name on Facebook.
Right. Okay.
That's it.
Okay. So he said he.
He said he knew you from. He said he's known you since the mid-'60s.
Okay.
And his name was Pierce Jones.
Okay. That's wonderful. He probably had got a lot of aliases like stuff like that. Okay. So there's no more questions or comments. Okay. Does anything that we said here today make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, and it's timely. I think it's a good lecture. I think for where we're at, headed, as far as
Yeah.
getting the message out and trying to circumvent the kind of lockdown of information on the community and stuff.
No, we're going all the way on this. We're going to, whatever they try to close off, we're going to come in at this door, that door, the side door. And Allah is doing something us a favor. See, if you get famous too fast and everybody's listening to you, you would become like Malcolm, a king. Everybody listening but won't nobody do nothing. That's heartbreaking. That's what was breaking King's heart. He said, man. He said, well, if I have to do it by myself, when there was this war in Vietnam, if I have to do this thing I'll do it. That's what he was telling his people. Yeah. So, people get to that point. But it takes unity and organization. And I'm just going to say once again, I don't plan on giving up on the Negro because somebody told me I was one, and I don't necessarily believe them. But I tell you who said it. The last poet said, "Niggas are scared of revolution." You ever hear that? Say, but what they say, niggas are scared of revolution. But I love niggas. Something like that. This is not new. It's been going on. And what they were saying, that was 69, they said that, or 71. They were telling the truth. They didn't have time. You got to understand, the government didn't give us a time to dig in deep on rebellion. And we thought it was, technically we was arrogant. We thought one nigga can whoop 10 white folks. And so the Negroes would shoot it out with police and never trained with a pistol. I was watching them Westerns, and the Westerns, they shot like this, bam, bam. You ever see them old Westerns? Yeah, they shoot like this, bam, bam, bam. And you can't, that's the way the Negroes were shooting. And they wouldn't hit nothing. And they would shoot a police. One of my best friends, either he shot a police or he was telling me he shot a police right here with a 38, and that's where the book to write tickets was. And he hit the ground, rolled over, and shot him dead. The other guy, yeah, he shot him dead. Because they taught him to get hit, roll over, and shoot. That's part of the training. Okay, thank y'all very much. Remember, dear African friends, we want you to have a Masjid al-Islam fundraising. We want you to raise big assistance for us. You can see what we're doing. It ain't no that we got to do this, and plus we have expenses, and and big ones right now. So we want to open this whole area up and let it be the center of the movement. When we open this up for the center of the movement, we'll go back to California, and we need your help and support. Big time. Please don't waste your money right now. So the next 3 years on Eid and any other time you see, when you see us coming, just pull out your money and put it in our box. Because it's going to be you. Yeah, why not? You know it's going to the right place. If you give it to some others, you're going to give them money to build up their hiding place better. They're going to hide. They're not going to do anything. They're not bad. But I tell you what one said to me last month, something like that. No. Subhanallah, the asra bi abdihi laylan min al masjid al haram, on and on and on. He said that was, what did he use? Pornography. Obscenity. He said it was obscene. The ayat from Quran, which is a great, because it, subhanallah, the asra, when you say subhanallah, that's big. That's as big as you can say in the Quran. Subhanallah, the asra, he said, that was obscene. That's obscenity. Maybe he don't know nothing about the Quran, but he was a big chief out there. So they have dummies like that coming out to face us off. Don't you be one. You help the brothers. Look at here. You let them laugh at us. They ain't going to be laughing much longer. And I know some of you still kind of not worship Boss Man, but you think he's all right. Boss Man is getting the worst whooping. He just getting started. You're going to see a whole new Boss Man very soon. His eyes going to be red. His butt going to be red. That boy's lips, he going to grow Negro lips. Oh, boy, you ain't going to recognize Boss Man. You're going to say, Boss Man, is that you? Watch and see. It's going to be Boss Man. And we're going to get younger and happier, and let's go save the world together. Thank you very much.